late at night. Going to be slipping and sliding out there in the roadways. Be extra careful if you're heading out. And to check our 5-day forecast, things shape up like this. Rain/snow showers tomorrow, almost 40 degrees. Brighter skies on Wednesday, a really nice day, almost 45, and some nice temperatures there. Look at Thursday, though. Ugly, yuck. Rain, snow starts mixing again on Friday, but Saturday, going to try to clear it out again. Temperature of almost 50. Mr. Knight making news?
Oh, yeah. Not that he's coaching a team, but he's in the news.
Okay.
Bobby Knight. Bobby Knight hasn't said if he will accept Texas Tech's offer to become the Red Raiders' new head coach down in Lubbock. Without a chance to lead Indiana to another first-round loss in the NCAA tournament, Knight now chimes in on Michigan State's chances in the big dance.
I don't think that either Illinois or Michigan State will be able to get through their regionals. Michigan State losing in the Big Ten tournament, not getting into the final game, will be, I think, a very, very big focal point for Tom Izzo, who does a great job coaching to begin with, and he'll have his team really ready to play in the tournament, but they're not the same Michigan State team that they were a year ago.
Okay, Bobby. The Associated Press is reporting tonight that Brian Ellerby will be fired maybe as soon as tomorrow. Will Rick Pitino replace him at Michigan? Pitino has been offered the head coaching job at Louisville, but reportedly he won't commit to them until visiting Ann Arbor. Ron Mason's Spartans don't know yet who they'll play Friday night in the CCHA semis, but Mason says playing at Joe Louis Arena hypes his team up no matter who the opponent is.
It's the Great Lakes Tournament. It's the Michigan State Series. And a lot of nice things that take place in Joe Louis Arena because of the LH family and the commitment Joe Louis Arena has made to college hockey. So it's really become a home for college hockey as well as the professional Detroit Red Wings.
They play Friday night at 5 against Northern Michigan or Bowling Green.
Don't even go anywhere.
Of course not.
You're not done yet.
On
point tonight, the Spartans are heading south for the big dance. We're going to hear from some local voices on their chances to repeat.
I think they got a good team, but probably not good enough to win it all.
I think it was a blessing in disguise in the fact they got to go to the South region.
You just got ABC 53 News Express. Steve Bunin and On Point next.
Jambalayas is alive with memories. In 1912, I was a dance hall. Then in the 20s and 30s, I was host to such big bands as Tommy Dorsey and Glenn Miller. And my friend from Chicago...
Talking about March Madness, the day after Michigan State finds out it's the #1 seed in the South, they hand out the team awards. Charlie Bell gets the Defensive Player of the Year for the 4th year in a row. He also shared that with Andre Hudson. Hudson and Jason Richardson were named the team MVP, so the sophomore and the senior teaming up for that. And David Thomas got the Unsung Player of the Year, and if you watched a lot of Spartan games, you know that that's true. Now, they're the #1 seed in the South. The 3rd straight year they are a #1, but can they repeat as national champions and make it 3 straight trips to the Final Four? Let's hear what you have to say.
I think they sure got lucky to end up a #1 seed.
More on Michigan State's chances, the rest of the Big Ten in the big dance, and the skinny on Marcus Taylor next on Point.
Consultation.
Welcome back. Steve Bunin here. March Madness has begun. Selection Sunday, a lot of fun. Not so much fun for Michigan State fans. We're going to talk a lot about the Spartans, about the South region and their bracket and all the other teams, the Big Ten, and some sleepers. Joining me now, head coach from Waverly High School, Phil Odlum. Thank you very much for joining us. Of course, he coached Marcus Taylor and Courtney Scott to a national championship, so we'll talk about their involvement in the NCAA tournament. And on my left, Earl Robinson from WKAR Radio, been with us before and has a lot of opinions to offer. So let's start with Michigan State, a disappointing loss to Penn State in the Big Ten tournament. And Coach, we'll start with you. Marcus obviously didn't have as great a game as he would have liked. Just 1 point and no assists and 2 turnovers, and MSU loses early.
Right. I think, you know, and Marcus didn't have his great game, but I think, again, what's going to help Michigan State is a little bit of that tournament pressure. Mm-hmm. When you lose one, you're out of it, even though that, and that may be what's good about the Big Ten tournament, because sometimes I'm thinking, what is good about that tournament? But you know, maybe they learned a lesson there, and they got to be focused, and especially for freshmen, that pressure can get to you. It's a little bigger pressure than he's faced before, being in that kind of atmosphere and that kind of arena, even though he'd had some pressure in our state tournament run. But I think they'll regroup, and I think they'll be just fine.
Earl, what do you think? Can this loss be a good thing for Michigan State, or is it really, it was too early of a loss to be considered a positive?
I think it can be a positive. I know the coach hates to look at it that way. Right. Any loss is always considered a negative, but I think it was a blessing in disguise in the fact they got to go to the South region. That Midwest region is really stacked, and I think the South is a little bit better, so I really like the fact that they're going to the South region, and when you look at it, I think it turned out to be a pretty good, it just turned out to be pretty good for the Spartans.
As it turned out, because almost everybody else lost, they become the 4th #1 seed. So they go to the South, and let's look at the South Regional and see how it shakes out. They're going to go down to Memphis. They're playing Friday and Sunday, and Coach Odla, Michigan State, you assume they get past Alabama State, but California and Fresno, that could be a tough one in the second round.
Exactly right. That we don't get to see much of the West Coast teams, and believe it or not, they do play good basketball there. They've had a team out there called UCLA that had a little tradition, but the rest of those schools, I know they're both really well-coached teams, Cal and Fresno State. Jerry Tarkanian has been a great defensive coach, even though we always look at his offensive prowess and how he runs up and down. But when he was at UNLV, I had a chance to watch him practice at the Final Four, and he didn't give him a day off. Believe me, they play tough defense. So those two teams are really scary, in my opinion, and that's going to be a tough one to go against.
Earl, the rest of the South Regional is pretty tough as well. Some people call it the second or the toughest bracket. Let's look at the rest of the South Regional and tell us what you think about the other teams that have a chance to do pretty well in the South and come out of there.
Very good teams, Virginia, Gonzaga. I know you like Gonzaga a lot. Yep. Of course, Virginia is strong coming out of the ACC. Oklahoma, which we know, former coach here at Michigan State, and he's got it going there. I don't know a lot about Indiana State, but I know Oklahoma is really good, and those three teams are excellent, Gonzaga and Virginia.
And those are all the games in Memphis. When you go down to the games in New Orleans, then you get the rest of the seeds, 2 and 7, and that's where Penn State goes. A very dangerous team, but North Carolina could go the whole way. What do you think, Coach?
Right, North Carolina is very scary on that bracket, and you know, Penn State, with those Crispin guys out there, they can scare you anytime. Sometimes, you know, as a coach, I sit and second-guess some of the shots I take, but if you're going to live and die by that, and that's what they do, and in a tournament, all you got to do is get hot for 6 games or 2 or 3 games, and all of a sudden your confidence builds up. So Penn State is really scary in there, and I look for them to really do well.
The other teams in that South Regional are going to be the 3 and the 6, and even an 11 seed that might be able to come out. So you're talking about Texas and Temple and Earl Robinson. What do you think about this? And Florida, a lot of people pick Florida to go to the Elite 8, if not further.
That's right. I think a Florida-Temple matchup would be excellent. I mean, Temple is really playing well. They've come on strong at the end of the year. They play that great matchup zone. They're very disciplined under John Chaney, that is. And then, of course, Florida, which always plays the run and gun, run and press. So that would be a nice clash in styles if those two got together.
And remember that both Florida and North Carolina lost to Michigan State at the Breslin Center. Well, we were at the Breslin Center earlier today, and Tom Izzo talked about how many upsets there could be in the Big Dance.
When you have teams that are 8 seeds that were 4th in the country a month and a half ago, you gotta realize that there's a lot of good teams out there. And so I think, yeah, a lot of teams could beat a lot of teams, and I think you'll see more upsets in the tournament this year, if you want to call them upsets. More higher seeds losing to lower seeds. I think people think there's so many good teams in this tournament. And, you know, when you start talking about, you know, listening to some of the analysts at the wee hours of the morning last night, I had to agree with them too. I mean, there's a lot of people that think there's 8, 9 seeds that definitely can win games, 10 seeds, 11 seeds that can win games. I mean, they're talking about Gonzaga getting to the Elite 8 as a 12 seed. You know, when that happens, I don't think there's as much pressure on the ones, because I think everybody has finally realized that the parity is so big.
Well, with all that parity, there's been a lot of discussion about which is the strongest and weakest bracket. So, Earl, we'll start with you this time. What do you think are the stronger and weaker brackets in the Big Dance?
Well, none of them are really weak, but I would say the strongest bracket is the Midwest. I mean, they are just tough top to bottom. The East is pretty good in the West, and actually I think all 3 of the other ones after the Midwest are pretty close.
And in the Midwest, you're talking about Illinois, Arizona, Ole Miss, and Kansas. Do you think that's the strongest, Coach, or do you like maybe the East with Duke and Kentucky? Boston
I kind of like the East. Not that I'm going to disagree, because as Tom, you just heard from Tom, and as we said, it's just unbelievable, the tournament this year. But when you've got Duke and Kentucky, for some reason, they've caught fire and they know what they're doing. And I got to see Boston College a little bit the other day. And boy, that's a nice ball club. And then you can't ever count UCLA out with all that tradition they have going for them. And it's when one of those teams win a couple and start believing in themselves, that really can take off.
Now, a lot of people think the West is one of the weaker brackets. It has Stanford as the top seed, then Iowa State, Maryland, and Indiana. Indiana, one of 2 Big Ten schools in the West, along with Wisconsin. So what about the Big Ten schools? Do you see any of the schools? We have 7, the most of any conference: Michigan State, Penn State, Illinois, Ohio State, Iowa, Indiana, and Wisconsin. Which schools besides the Spartans do you think could make a little run here?
Well, definitely, I think you got to be looking at Illinois. Yeah. They're going to make a strong run. They're solid top to bottom. Right now, I don't know what's happening at Iowa, but I've gone to Chicago to watch Courtney play a couple weeks ago when they lost to Northwestern. Then they came here and played against Michigan State, and I thought, holy cow, they're not even going to make it in the NIT.
Without Luke Recker, yeah.
And all of a sudden, he's got those guys clicking. So, of course, they're my sentimental favorite. I would love to see them go quite a ways so I can keep watching our 2 players.
Earl, do you have any Big Ten picks that you think? Obviously, the top seeds Michigan State and Illinois. Who else might make a little run?
You know, Wisconsin made it through last year, and I think they would have a good chance. They have everyone back. I like their top 8 players out of their top 10 coming back, and that's such a hard team to prepare for. And if you haven't seen them play or been used to playing that type of style, no one, I think, plays that kind of style in the tournament. Again, they will be very tough if you have not seen them play or played against them before.
Out in the West, they have a 6-11 matchup. They could play Maryland maybe in round 2 or round 3 down the road. That could be a couple upsets there, like Earl was saying. Now about Marcus Taylor, let's talk about him because we've got Coach Odlum here. The season he averaged 7 points a game and 39% shooting in about 20 minutes per game. Numbers don't necessarily tell the story when you're talking about a freshman point guard. So talk a little bit about his season and about what he has to do to bring it up a level in the NCAA tournament.
I think that, the thing about Marcus is, and I told him during his senior year, I said, your chance when you go to Michigan State is you're going to get to be a true point guard. At Waverly, he never was really maybe a true point guard because we needed to count him for so much scoring. So when he gave the ball up, we made sure we were setting 3 or 4 screens to make sure he got it back. And he was definitely our go-to man. He shot, maybe 18 to 22 times a game. So it's been a transition for him to come here at Michigan State and be a true point guard. I think he's finding out that the kids are a little bigger and quicker, which they all do. And defensively, I think he knew that he had to step it up a notch. I think also on our team in high school basketball, we were so talented in our league and things that he could make some mistakes and we could get by those and still win. Now he's finding out that that ball is a pretty prized possession, and each turnover when it gets in the tournament time can be very costly. But Marcus, believe me, is a great competitor. He wants the ball at the end of the games. Sometimes he just doesn't let the other people know that enough, and I wish he would be more vocal, but that's not quite his personality. But believe me, he's not afraid to have the game on the line and have the ball at the end. So if he could just maybe show that with a little more emotion, I think that would be a thing that would really help him down the road. Point guard play is such a key, and the Spartans have, of course, Charlie Bell and Marcus Taylor. So a senior who's been through the wars and a freshman who, like you said, Coach, hasn't. Earl, how important is it for Marcus to play well, and Charlie, too?
Well, they both have to play well if they're going to have any success in the tournament. There's no question about that. Marcus has had a pretty good year, but, yes, he can step up and do a little bit better at this point in time. And Charlie, as we know, he's had an up-and-down season as well. But if they're going to go far in the tournament, both of those guys have to play well.
Okay, we have about a minute left, so now it's selection time. Let's see what our panel of experts thinks. Who is going to make it to the Final Four, national champion, and maybe a sleeper? We'll start with you, Coach.
Well, I'm going to pick definitely Michigan State to be in the Final Four coming out of the South. I kind of like Arizona in the Midwest. I like Kentucky in the East. I'm going to pick a long shot there.
Couple of 2 seeds.
And I still like Stanford. I like their size. I like what they've done, and even though we don't get to see them very much. And I'm hoping, and I think Michigan State's got as good a chance as anybody to win this thing again. They've got the experience. And they've got a good, solid defensive ball club that's going to give you fits to try to run anything against them. And there's not a better coach in the country than Tom Izzo and his staff.
Earl, what do you think? Your picks?
A little bit different from the coaches. I like Arizona as well. I like Michigan State to make it to the Final Four. I like Duke, and I like Maryland. Maryland has really gotten hot at this point in time, and I think Maryland is a team that can get there and maybe upset Stanford.
Well, we're all in agreement on Arizona and Michigan State. I like them in the Final Four. I also like Duke out of the East and Stanford out of the West. It's going to be a lot of fun. We hope you've had a good time. We'll be back after this. Thanks again to our guests, Phil Odlum and Earl Robinson, for On Point.
We got cars and trucks and SUVs. You can throw away those old car keys. Spring is here.
Sean Mason pulls, cleans up the inside linebacker. The fullback is through to the support. And we have a plus 15-yard play, which we had a lot of those kinds of runs yesterday that were 10 to 12 to 15 yards, which was, I think, a very key in us controlling the football. And actually in the second half, we really only stopped ourselves with a few penalties, and I think we need to clean it up, but I think that in the future, our ability to run the ball is going to be a real key for our success as a team.
Nick and the Spartans ran the football all afternoon in that win over Notre Dame. One of the stars of this team, one of the best in all of college football, Flozell Adams, the big offensive tackle, joins us in just one moment as the Nick Saban Show continues.
The main thing is all about faith, believing in each other. And right now, I think we believe in each other that no matter what the score is or what situation we're in, we're going to always come out on top. And that's the main thing, having faith in each other.
We drive family sedans, 4x4s, and small city cars. We carry groceries, we carry lumber, we carry life. And we all want to feel safe doing it. Making a lot of different cars and trucks makes us, well, the car company. Making them all deliver the things that matter most makes us GM. The company you count on wherever life takes you. General Motors, people in motion.
Come on now. You got 15. He's an adrenaline freak, you know. He loves playing football and talking about it and lifting weights, and he's a good guy, though. But he loves his football. Get Grandma in here doing better. Come on. 5, 6. 2 more. 5 more.
It was the first time I had seen this play, and I just had to know.
Romeo, dost thou love me?
Does that love come with a lifetime guarantee? Huh?
Lifetime guarantee? What do you think this is? That new GM Good Wrench Service Plus?
I got a lifetime guarantee on parts and labor, plus upfront pricing, plus courtesy transportation. New GM Good Wrench Service Plus.
The plus means better.
Call for the select GM dealer near you.
The engineers of the Pontiac Grand Am make excitement a standard feature, right down to the exhaust system. They've designed it of stainless steel, not common metal. So instead of being rust-prone, it stays rust-proof. Everything on a Grand Am is built to be driven quite hard, which may explain why it's driven quite often. Grand Am, built for kicks, built for keeps.
Welcome back to the Nick Saban Show after a 23-7 win at Notre Dame. And Nick, we have Flozell Adams joining us now, and I know it's great to have this big guy on your side.
Yeah, what size suit you say that is, Flo?
56 long, extra long.
Extra long. Ooh. I like those 56 extra long tackles, especially on the left side. And they did a great job yesterday road grading between Flo and Scott Shaw. Outstanding job. The only thing about the old coach, though, is when you look at the stadium, we have those two pictures there. You know, you next to me, I'm like a card-carrying midget compared to you. But what does a game like this, a win like this, mean to you personally and to the team, you think, after the game yesterday?
It was a great win to me personally, and as for the team, I feel that it's a good motivational factor for us to come into the rest of the season and win some big games further down the road.
Great. Flozell, you go into a place like South Bend, and you've had an awful lot of acclaim last season and before this season, but now you know that the whole nation's looking on, and you had a great opportunity, and you guys came through. Has to be very, very gratifying for you. What were you thinking about before the game?
Before the game, it wasn't much as for who that we were playing, like Notre Dame or whatever. It was just more of what you need to do to beat these guys. You know, we need to go in, score early, dominate the line of scrimmage, and you know, make big plays, and that's what we did.
Well, you certainly did that, Flo, and I think the offensive line did a great job, and I know you personally did. Now we have a week off coming up. How do you think that's going to help you or get us to be able to improve? I know you've been nicked up with an ankle injury. What personally does this week off mean to you?
Well, it's a good time for everybody on the team to heal and get a little bumps and bruises over with, and you know, get some more fundamental techniques in, and you know, work on things that we've probably missed over the last couple of games, and then after this week is gone, we can start working on Minnesota.
Yep. You know, Nick, I know for you personally, when you see a great player who could have gone to the NFL come back in order to get his degree, you really want him to taste some success this year, so you had to feel good for Flozell with that big win.
Well, I certainly do, and so you might, I'm sure everybody would be interested to know, you know, why you made the decision to come back, and are you pleased with it?
I don't regret my decision. I, you know, believe that I should stay for another year of college football as well as graduate, and I don't regret it not one bit. And playing games like this and winning them is just what I stayed for my last year for.
Well, I think it's great that you stayed. We're very pleased that you stayed, and I'm going to be very happy and proud of the fact that you're going to get a degree in criminal justice, and I know you've worked very hard to do that, and you've worked also very hard as a football player and proved to be maybe the best offensive lineman in the country.
It's going to be a stellar senior season for Flozell Adams, and a bowl game hopefully to celebrate it when it's all over. Our Ask the Coach segment comes up now on the Nick Saban Show.
What special things do you do when you bring your club in here to this hostile environment where the fans and the band and everybody's going nuts and Jesus is signaling for a touchdown?
Well, the first thing I told our team this week was that the field at Notre Dame is 50 yards wide and 100 yards deep, just like our field is here, and that the most important thing in this game for us is to be physical, out-tough these guys, win on the line of scrimmage, and just execute and play sound fundamental football, and we would be successful. That Newt Rockne, Frank Leahy, and all the people that go into the Notre Dame tradition, even though we respect that tremendously and think that Notre Dame's a great institution, would not help their football team play better, that they were going to have to play on the field, and that's where the game would be won and lost.
Boy, the Spartans got it done on the field, 23-7 over Notre Dame in South Bend. Stay with us on the Nick Saban Show. Coming up, our scouting report on the Minnesota Golden Gophers and our Where Are They Now feature.
Went 60 minutes. He said it's going to be a 60-minute game, you know. Any point in the game, they could have went back. You know, they scored one more touchdown. It's been 14-21, so we just try to keep the intensity high, which we did. We came out with the W.
We drive family sedans, 4x4s, and small city cars. We carry groceries, we carry lumber, we carry life. And we all want to feel safe doing it. Making a lot of different cars and trucks makes us, well, the car company. Making them all deliver the things that matter most makes us GM. The company you count on wherever life takes you. General Motors, people in motion.
Come on now. You got 15. He's an adrenaline freak, you know. He loves playing football and talking about it and lifting weights, and he's a good guy, though. But he loves his football.
Get Grandma in here doing better. Come on.
5, 6.
2 more. 5 more.
The engineers of the Pontiac Grand Am design cars for people who get a kick out of driving. Complete with a powertrain built to precise aerospace tolerances. And that's helped keep more Grand Ams on the road, even after 11 years, than any car in its class. So, buy a Grand Am for a good time. Have it around for a good, long time. Grand Am, built for kicks, built for keeps, starting around 15.3.
It had been well over a half an hour. Anxiously, I shouted, "Change, Master! Change! Hurry, hurry! Change! Change quickly!"
A quick change in less than 30 minutes? What do you think this is, that new GM Goodwrench Service Plus?
I'm not frightened by slow oil changes anymore. 29 minutes or less, or the next one's free. New GM Goodwrench Service Plus, like Master says.
The plus means better.
Call for the select GM dealer near you.
Welcome back to the Nick Saban Show. Time now for our Where Are They Now feature. And this week,
We'll take a look at the gentleman who scored the Spartans' lone touchdown in the 10-10 tie in '66 with Notre Dame, Regis Cavender.
Spartan fans remember him as Reggie Cavender, the man who scored the lone MSU touchdown in the legendary 10-10 tie with Notre Dame.
The intensity was unbelievable coming into the game, and you could see it build up throughout the week. And it came to a crescendo right before game time, and everybody, it looked like it peaked at the right time.
Cavender was actually hurt on the play before his touchdown. He separated his shoulder, thought about coming out of the game, but a teammate persuaded him to gut it out.
He said, "What's wrong?" I told him. He says, "Reg," he says, "you don't have any time for pain." And he was right. The next play, they called my playoff tackle. It was a straight, real quick slant play, and Clinton Jones led through the hole, and he blocked a real clear path, and it was, end zone time. So it was a tremendous feeling.
These days, Regis Cavender is a family man living in mid-Michigan. He recently started his own business in high-performance resources. And yes, he's still involved with football and keeps up with the current Spartans.
I'm involved right now with, as assistant coach, with helping my younger boy, Luke. He's 9 years old, and it prevents me from going up to all the games on Saturdays, but assured that any game I can make, I'm going to be up there.
Great to see Regis Cavender. I know he and a lot of Spartans are happy with that win over Notre Dame.
Regis does a good job of coaching, too. His son Luke was in our camp, so we really enjoyed that, and it's really good to see how successful he is right now.
How are you feeling about the win over Notre Dame?
Well, I tell you what, it was a great win for us. We just need to continue to improve as a football team. Minnesota and our Big Ten schedule, we're going to start here in 2 weeks. I have to say something about the fans, though, at Notre Dame. I felt at home at Notre Dame coming in on the bus with all the Spartan flags that we had and all the Spartan people that were at the gate when we came in, and the enthusiasm in the stadium for us. I mean, I did not feel like we were playing on the road, and I really appreciate that, and I know our players certainly appreciate that kind of support.
Well, they gave you some great support. Let's take a look now at the Golden Gophers from Minnesota, who will be in for homecoming afternoon in 2 weeks.
Well, Minnesota is a very dangerous team. They have some great skill players. Their quarterback has been one of the leading passers in the Big Ten for several years. Corey Sauter is a great quarterback. Tutu Atwell is probably one of the best big play receivers, return men in the Big Ten this year. They do have some returning starters on defense, which was a little bit of a problem for them last year, and they seem to be playing much better this year. So they're 2-1. They'll have another game next week. It's going to be a challenge for us to play Minnesota and get off on the right foot against our first Big Ten opponent.
Well, good luck on the Big Ten slate. Homecoming coming up in 2 weeks against Minnesota. That's the Nick Saban Show. We'll be back right after that Minnesota game with more.
The Nick Saban Show has been brought to you by the generous support of Coca-Cola of Michigan and these other fine sponsors.